Have you ever tried to share your feelings with your husband calmly, gently, respectfully? And instead of leaning in, he suddenly gets defensive. He interrupts, he shuts you down, he explains, he argues, he tells you why you shouldn't feel what you feel, or he goes stone cold silent. And and you're left thinking, I wasn't attacking him. I was opening up. Why does he react like this? Does he even care? Have that ever been your experience? You're not alone. I want to tell you, dear wife, you're not alone. You're not crazy. Even though you might think that way sometimes and made to feel that way, there's a hidden reason a husband like yours, a driven, provider-minded husband, gets defensive, even when you're being kind. And once you understand this reason, the whole pattern makes sense. Now, before we go any further, let me say this plainly, especially if you're new to my channel. I'm not making excuses for your husband, and I'm not minimizing your pain, and I'm not blaming you. I know what it's like for you. How come? Well, I talk to wives every day who are like you, who feel unheard, unseen, and worn out from trying. And I get it as a husband and as a therapist and coach for marriage couples like yourself. I'm here to help you understand the why behind his defensiveness. And so you can finally get the closeness you've been praying for. And from my own experience as a husband like yours and being married for 40 plus years since 1985, I can tell you that when I speak and share this with you, I'm coming from a professional and a personal position or place or perspective. So you deserve that clarity that you have been wanting. You deserve connection, and you deserve a husband who responds with tenderness, not tension. So, okay, so let's get into his inner world. Remember now, I'm the translator of your husband's heart for more reasons than one, and you'll see in a few moments why I say that. So, why does your husband feel attacked even when you're not attacking? When you share your feelings, here's what you mean when you're sharing that, and here's how he probably, well, not, here's how he hears it. So, when you share your feelings, and what you mean is, I'm letting you into my heart, right? I want us to feel closer, right? I need you with me emotionally, right? But here's what he hears. Here's what we hear. We hear, especially as a driven provider-minded husband, we hear, I failed. I'm not enough. I'm disappointing her. She's unhappy and I'm the cause. And the second a driven husband like yours feels like he's failing, his brain goes into defense mode. Not because he's angry with you or at you, but because he's trying to protect himself from shame, not from you, from shame. You weren't attacking him. You were inviting him close, right? Isn't that what you were trying to do? But it felt like an attack to him because it triggered that old, deep fear that so many husbands, like your husband, me, and others have. The fear of I'm not good enough for her. Now, remember, you're not saying that, but that's how we are hearing it. So, by the way, if we haven't met yet, I'm Kingsley Grant, a marriage therapist and coach. And I've been doing this for over 2 decades. And I help Christian wives like you understand the inner world of their driven, provider-minded husbands so they can rebuild emotional closeness without walking on eggshells. So let's kind of get back then into his mind as I translate his mind and his heart and where he's coming from for you, because his defensiveness, right? Reactions have been so fast, so fast. But here's what happened. Driven men are wired for solving, protecting, fixing, providing. Their deepest desire, your husband's deepest desire, is to be the hero in their home, in your life, in your home. So when you say, I'm hurt, I feel alone, I need you to slow down, I feel disconnected, he doesn't hear a feeling, he hears a verdict, a judgment, an accusation, an allegation. He hears those things, a verdict. And defensive men defend because they feel accused, not included. You see how far it has gone from where you started? Now, it's not logic. It's fear. It's fear. Not fear of you, dear wife. It's fear of not measuring up. So your husband, like mine, like me, like many husbands, he explains himself, he justifies, he minimizes, he deflects, he shuts down, right? Not because he doesn't love you, but because he loves you so much. The idea of hurting you crushes him, crushes him. So here's the part then that frees you, dear wife. Ready for this? Okay. His defensiveness is not a reflection of your tone, right? So I want you to make sure that you hear that, because no, let me just say, sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. So I'm not somehow dismissing that possibility. Sometimes it's the what you're saying, it's how you're saying it, it's where you're saying it, is when you're saying it, right? Those things can be true. But for the most part, it's not a reflection of your tone. It's not proof that you're too emotional, right? It's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because your feelings hit the most sensitive part of his identity. You say, this made me sad. He hears, I'm failing as a man. You say, I need more support. He hears, I'm not doing enough. You say, I feel alone today. He hears, I'm not a good husband. And instead of leaning into that moment, right? What tends to happen? What have you experienced in your relationship? I'd love to hear from you. And I'd love to hear in the comments as we have this conversation what you normally hear. What's it like for you? Is any of this resonating? And by the way, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, now is a great time to subscribe as you're hearing me downloading and translating your husband's heart for you. It's a great way to subscribe and invite another wife to also subscribe and listen to what it is that you're also hearing as well. But let's have a conversation. I'd love to hear your thoughts so far. So instead of leaning into the moment, your husband, he protects himself from the judgment he fears, right? Even when that judgment isn't coming from you, but he's hearing that in his head. So, what might be then a way to talk that helps him listen and not defend? Well, here's a simple shift that lowers and reduces a driven man's defenses. A husband like yours, or like me to my if my wife. I must say that some of these things I'm sharing with you has come out of my own experience of 40 years. As you can imagine, it's not been perfect. No one has a perfect marriage. It's not being smooth sailing. It's not this straight line. No, it's this, right? And we've had our share. We have learned a lot, and still learning after 40 years in. My wife is still learning. I'm still learning as well how to better do this whole thing. So I want to share with you a simple shift that lowers his defenses. Start with reassurance, right? Start with reassurance, then share the emotion, right? Start with reassurance, then share the emotion. For example, hey, you know, I'm not blaming you. You're a good man. I just want to share what's happening in my heart, right? That's one way. Or I know you care about me, so I want to let you into what I'm feeling. Or are you seeing the difference so far? Okay. Or this isn't about you being wrong. It's about us being close. What does this do, dear wife? It removes the threat. It softens the shame. It signals safety. And when a man feels safe, he can finally listen. Finally listen. So if, dear wife, you felt shut down, dismissed, talked over, or misunderstood, God sees that. He knows the weight you're carrying. And even though sometimes it feels like, God, I've prayed, I've cried, and nothing seems to be happening, can I remind you that God is still there? You're not asking for too much, dear wife. You're asking for what's reasonable. You're asking for what many wives are asking for: partnership. You're asking for unity. You're asking for the closeness God designed marriage to have and has put into your heart. Your husband isn't unreachable. He's just, ready for this? He's just untrained. Yeah, untrained. I can tell you that I've learned a lot in my 40 years of marriage, and it's not come because I'm a quick learner. Here it is 40 years in, I'm still learning. Maybe I'm a slow learner, but most husbands tend to be this way. So we need to be trained. I don't see it as like training a dog or some animal. No, no. It's a sense of training the relationship. Help us to understand what it is. Speak a language that we will hear, and that's what I'm trying to give to you. Let me share with you here what I have done in this thinking, and you may have heard me mention it many times. I all that I'm sharing with you have led me to write this book, that The Joyful Wife, and you may have heard me mention this before, but I wrote this book with this same idea in mind. It's available on Amazon. It's 7 connection skills to better understand your husband, deepen intimacy, and rekindle love. And so these things I'm sharing with you, I also share that in the book and my more of my story, but also the story of other wives as well, especially the one that I had a case study on. So if you're interested, it's available on Amazon. I mentioned that for this reason because I find that God has given you the wisdom, but you have the neck that turns ahead. And I mentioned that in the book as well. So in addition to that, dear wife, if you want simple, faith-filled ways to talk so your husband, listens and listens without getting defensive, I want you to grab my free guide, Reconnect, a quick guide for wives who feel like they're doing it all. Maybe that's you, right? And if you're interested in that, you can get it at buildyourhappiermarriage.com/reconnect. Buildyourhappiermarriage.com/reconnect. It will help you create closeness without nagging, arguing, or shutting down, right? So here's a question I want to ask and to leave you with and have you wrestle with. What's one way you can practice mutual acceptance in your marriage today? I want to share that, share in the comments, and let's grow together. Let's kind of figure this thing together. You know, when I do my therapy work, I tell most of my clients, I started by saying, hey, we're co-creating an outcome that you want. I'm not the expert on your life or your marriage. You are. And I'm going to come alongside and help you to co-create an outcome that gets you the best result. And in a sense, you and I are doing that here right now. So if this has helped you understand your husband as I translate his heart and help you to understand better, I would ask that you share this with another wife who needs this message. And if you have not yet done, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next video, but also help me to grow this channel and reach a lot more wife just like you. And I really would appreciate that. And I want you to watch the next video that's on your screen. It will bless your heart and add more information and helps to you as well. So now may the Lord bless you, dear wife, and give you his peace and grace and your marriage as well, and strengthen your heart and soften your husband's heart. And may you experience the warmth of his love, and may God draw you and your husband closer. And with that said, may God bless you, and I'll see you next time. God bless. Peace out.